Everybody shifted.
Y'all shift now.
We got a shift going.
Here. We got a special treat this morning. Graham's going to pipe in his friend from Salt Lake, and they're going to talk about sort of how they got their church started out there and what they do and why they do it. We're going to start. Bill just, really blessed us all with his lessons on creation and evolution and Genesis and science and how that all fits together. It was fantastic. We're going to start to shift now into sort of a missions outreach sort of talk, and Graham's going to start that off by sharing with his friend out in Salt Lake. But let's have a few questions first, and then we'll get into that. So we do have like Graham said, the Live on the Lawn coming up November 5th. That's in 2 weeks. Pens is going to cater that. It's going to be $5. Well, that's also, our church does this high attendance Sunday every now and then, so that actually coincides with that Sunday. Look, y'all reach out to some folks that are, in our age group and bring them in. We've also got a really special sort of change coming for our class, and we're going to have our test run that day. And the change is that we're actually moving rooms. Woohoo! And we're going from this room, we're actually going to try out something. If we fall flat on our face, we'll take responsibility for it. But we're going to try starting to meet in the chapel. We're going to take this class to the chapel, and so we're going to try. What does that mean? Well, that means a lot of different things. It means that we all are going to have an obligation, you as regular attendees and the pillars and foundation of this class, to reach out to people. And let's start, bringing your friends and your age group, your peers, and people that want. Doesn't matter what, how old they are or what their relationship status is, as long as they want to learn about the Word and be in a place that wants to grow in Christ and grow together, bring them in. And so we're going to start meeting. We're going to give it a dry run on November the 5th. We're going to meet in the chapel. Allison Talley, who has been gracious and helped us with all our technology, is going to help us set up our technology there. And there's some logistical challenges with the chapel in terms of, an area to kind of congregate and fellowship, and whenever we have food and stuff like that. But we're going to work through it. And it was good something, but I feel the need, I really need to leave after that. And I know, people say for church, well, we could have medical students and people that want to come to Sunday school and be a part of this can come into the chapel and they can fellowship, and then if they need to exit, they can exit. They don't have to stay. But anyway, it's something that we're working through, and something that Graham and Bill and I have been talking a lot about, and we hope that it will be a welcome change to you, and we hope that it will help us to grow and help us to reach out more to people and bring people in to fellowship with us and to come to know Christ more and to grow the kingdom.
Quickly, what do y'all think about that?
I like it.
Kind of scary? I mean, be honest.
We used to get plastic every week deal, so they made it work.
Okay.
We had a problem like inviting friends and trying to explain how to get to this classroom, and so we had to coordinate a meeting in the parking lot and everything. I think that's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Right across the Capitol and just walk in the front door.
The chapel, yeah. Easy access.
Great parking. We were talking with Bill and Allison Talley, and I met down there this morning and took a look at it. And I'll be honest with you, it's a little daunting. It's a bigger room, and but I think it's a great opportunity.
There's a song about going to the chapel.
I'll rewrite a theme song for our class.
Yes, we need that.
Well, we talked about that too. We talked about potentially, we've got so much musical talent in here. We talked about maybe having a couple of songs at the beginning of our lesson.
Guitarists.
We got an acoustic guitars. We got so many different.
So long somebody else sings.
Second fiddle.
And along that line, get ready, because we're about to start figuring out a way, to try to get all of you involved more. You guys, y'all are leaders in this church already, and we're going to try to start talking about, okay, what does it look like for you to get involved? and for us to continue to grow, and then for you to kind of, you know, reinvest, for us all to reinvest in different ways, because we've gotta reach out and grow this age group and demographic. Got to. So we're going to be talking more in the coming weeks and months about how to do that. We're still thinking through some ideas, but you be thinking about that for yourself and be praying about that. Like, how would you want to be used? Would you want to be teaching? Would you want to be, you know, leading in some other capacity? Would you want to be, you know, doing music if we decide to start doing music? We talked about doing a variety of things. So we got to get you guys plugged in, not just coming and sitting every day, which is fine, which is great, but in a leadership role and reaching out and growing a grassroots movement type thing. So anyway.
All right, ready to go. You ready?
Yeah, the only other thing, we got pumpkin carving at the Calvert's house on Thursday. So hope everybody can come, 6:30.
6:30, yeah.
As Harper was saying, if you want to bring a dessert or an appetizer, feel free. We're going to have chili and all that there. It's a great time. We did it last year. Hope you can make it, and invite anybody else you have. Okay.
All right.
Why don't Bill, will you open some prayer?
Okay. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day that you have made, and all the blessings that all come from you. You own everything, created everything. We ask only that your will be done in our class and all matters. We pray that you will forgive us, cleanse us, make us a better church and people. We say we ask in the Master's name, amen.
I'm not good with technology, so I'm kind of hurrying Cody off stage because everything's working right now. So
Play that friend clean it thing.
I'll tell you, look at that. That looks great. I don't have to watch that later. Uh-oh. Have to retry. Here we go. That's Brian. Brian, what's up, man?
I'm doing great. You tell me?
This is my class. Can you see everybody? Hold on.
No, not yet.
Let me turn. All right, there you go.
Hey, I'm a professional small group.
Yeah. That's pretty good. All right, so we just got through watching the video on your church, and it's pretty enlightening. One thing that I quickly kind of noticed right off the bat is that you guys spend a lot of time outside your church walls doing mission stuff, and I love that about your church. And you all spend a lot of time out in the community, like we talked about over the last week, just praying for people, witnessing to people, telling people your story. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring you in with our class this morning, is just kind of get a minister who's very well trained and taught me a lot of stuff that I know about teaching to kind of teach my people on how you guys do what you do. So I'm going to start off with just kind of a question-answer session. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to the ministry.
I was a combat veteran, and while I was out serving in Iraq, I felt God's just a calling to say, hey, you need to do something more. You need to serve a bigger kingdom. And is there still an echo when I do that? Do you guys have an echo on your end?
We don't have an echo.
Oh, okay, cool. So I started working really just to kind of follow through what that would look like. I was a fairly new Christian, and that eventually led me to Bible study and more training and quite a bit more with some folks that did kind of similar to what I did for Sam, just poured into me, taught me a bunch of stuff, did an investment, and then that led to a desire to possibly go back into the military. Had some injuries, so I couldn't do that. Ended up going to seminary, and I ended up on staff at Church in Salt Lake. And that just kind of led, it got the ball moving to where there wasn't really a stopping point anywhere, and I just kept driving forward and getting as much education as I could and getting as much experience as I could and taking all of that to the kingdom advancement. So,
and so, like,
just an autopilot once I said yes to the Lord.
So like we've been talking about over the week, this past week, and just a little background for the class, the church he's talking about, he started was a church called Risen Life, and Brian, and
I'm going to correct you really quickly. We started Redeeming Life. We were on staff at Risen Life.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Life sent us across the Salt Lake Valley to start another church.
Oh, wow. Okay, I did not know that. Risen Life is a church that I was a part of in Salt Lake, and Brian came in with Redeeming Life and was a part of Risen Life, and Risen Life kind of helped the Redeeming Life get set up. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
So tell us about like the church plant in Salt Lake, and tell us actually about Salt Lake in general, like the mission field. Like what percent is Christian? Is it in terms of Mormon? What percent is Christian? What percentage you think would be atheist?
So I think we should start by saying that the United States is the fourth largest mission field in the world. And the West, where I'm at, is incredibly lost. There's a lot of mission opportunities. Then in Salt Lake City, I gotta stop messing with this here. In Salt Lake City, the general valley is about 50% of the
Yeah. We had some technical difficulties. It just went on for a second.
So where we're at, about 2% of the population would say they have a relationship with the biblical Jesus. So that excludes Mormons. About 40% of the population I'm at is active Mormon, but probably 65-70% would say they're LDS Mormon. And then probably the remainder would be agnostic, pagan, just I can find God in the mountains, whatever, everything's cool, or just outright atheist. We also have the third largest homosexual community in Salt Lake. Across the nation is in Salt Lake City. And so we have a lot of people that are just pushing away from anything, not just to say that being homosexual has to do with that, but it brings in a great deal of rebellion against any kind of faith system. So that brings with it a lot of atheistic ideas and things of that nature. Sure. So we really are, we're pushing into about 98% of the population we meet.
Wow.
In some capacity, either is following a false god or doesn't want to any kind of god at all.
Tell us about your church plant.
So we decided to be missionaries in the city. We went out, started gathering, built a big team. We didn't start a campus or anything like that. We just went out and started sharing the gospel, finding lost people, and just started to invest in them, in the gospel with them. They ended up becoming believers. We continued that process. We've gathered those disciples together into a church, and God where we're at. Very messy. It looks like pistols. Everybody, for the most part, is new believers. We have just a lot of crazy stuff going on. But probably 60 or so people now. Last couple of years, we've seen. Graham, I told you the numbers yesterday. I can't remember them again, but I think it was 32 people have come to Christ, and 23, I think it was, before have been baptized in the last 2 years.
That's
Just
awesome.
based on deep church, now being missionaries where we're at, and constantly sharing the gospel, watching what God's going to do.
And that's one of the cool things that I think your church does is really spends a lot of time doing mission work. And like you said, it almost is like you guys are a group of missionaries. Tell us about that. Tell us about how your church does an outreach for Salt Lake proper and gets out in the community. And what do y'all say to people, like when you encounter them on the street?
Well, so first, we believe that the city is our campus. So church work happens everywhere, not just in our building or in our classrooms. We're always on mission. And so we use a lot of tools, really big on mission tools. You can find lots of them at the Salty Belief. Basically, we pray for people like crazy. I believe that everything starts with prayer. And so we pray with them, and then we find opportunities. We use tools like the 15. Hey, if you died tomorrow, where are you going to wake up, or what's going to happen? I'm not that guy at all. It's very natural, so that we're making friends. It's very relational. But everybody that we meet, encounter, know that we are Christians from the very beginning, just from subtle ways of letting them know who we are and what we do. So we're always out adopting coffee shops and delis, and I'm prepping sermons in this grocery store deli, and people go, hey, what are you doing? You end up in conversation. So I wrote my entire doctoral dissertation sitting in a coffee shop, deli, and it's not the most comfortable place, but it's very missional.
So you mentioned the 15-second. Tell us more about that. I printed off that 15-second sheet and made a bunch of copies and gave it to everybody today. Tell us about the 15-second, sharing your gospel, sharing the gospel. How does that work?
Okay, so this is the first we found. We got it from some guys who serve in closed country overseas that was the international mission. It's basically a way to take pulse and see where people are at, see what you might be able to share with them, and it's very natural in conversation. It just goes like this. Every good story starts with a time period. He wants to go to college. He goes enough to be once upon a time. Don't say that. That's way cheap. There was a time in my life. It's the easiest, most generic start. The time in my life, man. Then you say two things that describe you when you were far from Jesus, whether that was yesterday, you were angry with your wife, or whether that was a believer. You take those words, those descriptors. There was a time in my life when I was lonely and depressed, when I was drinking and chasing women, whatever it is, and don't lie. My friend says when I was religious and vague, when I was apathetic and afraid. You sort of pick a couple of descriptors that might connect with the person. Then you just introduce something about Jesus to the Bible. And I would not recommend thinking I started going to church because that's pretty generic. Then Jesus got a hold of me. I started reading the Bible. Or yesterday I was really aiming to it the most at this point. Then you use two words to describe what the gospel does to those first two words. So if you're lonely and afraid, then it turns into have great community and I'm fearless, something like that. Or I was depressed now, kind of thing. And the very most important thing, the very last part of that sentence, that you have a story like that. as soon as you ask somebody, you'll find out exactly kind of where they're at, and they'll give you cues on how to get into a natural gospel conversation. So I walked into a deli one time, and this lady said, "Hey," I said, "How you doing?" She said, "I'm awesome. How about you?" And I said, "Oh, there was a time in my life when I was definitely not awesome. And I think I said I was drinking or something, whatever it was. Not awesome. And then Jesus radically changed my life. You're not sharing the whole gospel, that's all I said. Jesus radically changed my life. Now I feel like I have an awesome day every day with him." You got a story like that? She busted into a 40-minute story about how she was a recovering alcoholic, had this problem, had that problem, had to get her from dying, she really didn't know God. It turned into a natural conversation where I could say, "It sounds like God really blessed you for a reason. Are you following him? Are you learning from him? Is he changing your life?" "Oh, no." Kind of back and forth. And then it naturally breaks into, "Can I show you something? I shared the 3 circles. I don't know if that. Or, hey, could I give you a Bible to read John?" Whatever it is, it opens up a natural door for conversation. Or they just say, "Yeah, whatever, I'm more." And then you go, "Okay, cool." And you just move on because God's not putting it in their life. They're not ready to hear. You don't waste your time going into some kind of spiel or just supernatural. I try to share this every single day. I don't go to bed before I've shared a 15-second story with somebody.
Wow.
In a natural conversation.
That's awesome. And one thing I will say,
Go ahead.
One thing I will say is Brian is he's really organic about like sharing his faith. I'll tell a quick story. There was a guy who is in charge of the clinic that I worked in the VA and that Brian was a patient of. And he was an administrator type, and I told Brian about him. I was like, I don't think he's a believer. And over the course of the year, I kind of tried to plant some seeds. And it's kind of interesting. We've been talking this week about how Charlie Rubelman, and you're still trying to plant seeds in him. And Brian doesn't really care if people think he's radical or not. He's still trying to get at people, and he's constantly working on it. And he's very persistent in his faith, and that's one thing that rubs off on other people, and hopefully rubs off on us. So I appreciate that about you. So yeah, well, let's move on. Were you going to say something else, Brian, or?
I was just going to say that 15-second story is natural enough that if you practice it and you work on it, you can share lots of different stories. So I've been in an environment traditionally where I'm around the table with like 10 other people, and over the course of the night, I was able to share my 15-second story with each of them differently in a way that connected with them, and they never picked up on what I was doing.
Wow.
Hey, when I was in college, this, you got a story like that, or has that ever happened to you? Even what do you think about that? Once you start having a conversation, and it was that natural that nobody ever thought it was weird. I'm still meeting with those folks, we're believers, but it also in the very beginning sort of initiated, hey, this guy has something with Jesus or the Bible or something, so he must be one of those Christians. So for the next year in the relationship with them, they know who I am, and when things come up, it's not weird. But it also didn't start with the weird, like, here's a track of a dog with big ears and Elvis with $1 million. It didn't start out that way. It just started out very natural. Right,
it's an icebreaker. Yeah, and I mean, it gets at people, it comes at people real. It's an icebreaker, and when we're out in the mission field, we're out trying to tell people about, sorry, y'all, this, when we're trying to talk to people, it's so weird. Like when we first start talking to them about Jesus, and it's kind of like the elephant in the room. And what the 15-second story does, it really kind of helps you. It really helps you get into the story very quickly. My friends may put something on GroupMe during this, y'all, that comes up, and I'll apologize in advance for what some of my friends may say. And these guys are church people, by the way, but that is a people in my tailgate, but. So sorry, a little drop down little thing came down, but on my group.
I didn't see anything. So you're good.
I get. So tell us how is your church supported?
I'm gonna do something really quick here. I'm taking a picture of you guys. I don't know how to do that. I was trying to catch a drop down thing.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. So there we go. We are supported by other churches, we are supported by individuals, and we are supported by our church. So our group of new believers, which is pretty wild, in a place where they've never had any Christian contacts, support our church upwards of about 40%. They give, they tithe, we teach on these concepts. They serve. They're doing the mission work. We're a little church. I mean, if you came and showed up, we're meeting in this weird front warehouse space. We're doing stuff. We're a church. And then we have our supporting church sends us a little bit of funds and resources, and then other churches around the country will send us resources, Bibles, money, all sorts of things, and then individuals send money, which is really helpful because that keeps us doing the work. The other guy I work with, he's supported full time. Most of his support comes from kind of Iowa and Nebraska, kind of that area where he's from. I'm indigenous to this area, so I've met a lot of new people. We just go out and do a lot of. We'll go speak at conferences and things, and they'll send it on for him or something. That helps support people. But a lot of it is just forgiving of people who want to join the mission that we're in. So we're at redeeminglifeutah.org, and you can find information on how to support us there. Or, like I said, all these tools are available at saltybeliever.com.
And you also have a podcast called saltybeliever.com that I subscribe to, and is y'all still going with that?
Oh, good. We have one listen. It's Salty Believer Unscripted.
Yeah.
You can find it on the website. We started interviewing quite a few people that you might be familiar with. We had Al Mohler from the seminary on, and Nick Ripken, and Dave Early, and Doug. We interview people. We're trying to connect with as many people as we can, just help and give away as many resources as we can. So a lot of it is just about equipping the saints for the work of ministry all over the country. And it's still going, goofy. It's unscripted. It's just a 20-minute conversation. Jared Jenkins, which is another guy that Graham knows, he's a part of that, and we just try to do as much as we can to help.
One thing that I was talking about last night, and I didn't realize Risen Life was a Southern Baptist Convention church, but Risen Life, the church I attended out in Salt Lake, and also your church is actually a Southern Baptist Convention church. Is that right?
Yes.
And how does the Southern Baptist Convention support you guys?
So we're part of the North American Mission Board. The giant misconception across the Bible Belt that Kevin Ezell is trying to change is that NAM, or the North American Mission Board, plants no churches. They are really terrible at churches, planting. Their job is to be a partner, because churches plant churches. And so they come alongside and they give us resources and training and equipping and brotherhood of other people who are out here kind of, it's lonely. I mean, there's a guy, I'm going to go up in a few minutes, I'm going to go preach at a church that our church partners with. So we're in a place where 2% of the population are Christians. He's in a place 40 minutes away, and it's called Morgan, where there's 10,000 people in the county. There's one evangelical church. There's one limping Catholic church. Everybody else is LDS. We know every single Christian in the county.
Wow.
Because there's 30 of them. That's the environment he's in. The church has never gotten there. So our church is adopting that church as a mission field, and we're helping them. So he's just getting a break. Well, he's got nobody else to work to. If he's exhausted and tired, burned out, he's got nothing. So I'm going to go up and preach for him so he can just get a breather.
Yeah.
And that's what NAM helps us do. It connects us with those folks.
Yeah.
Connects us with you guys. I mean, you guys are more of a fluke. I knew Graham because he did my back surgery, went to Risen Life. But normally they say, hey, we have this church that's interested in connecting with somebody, you want to connect with them. And so we end up meeting other churches around, mostly the Bible Belt, and that helps a lot.
Well,
we don't have any of that without the Southern Baptist.
Well, hey, I appreciate
we don't lead with that because people are like, what's the Southern Baptist Convention?
Yeah.
There's no church. I mean, there's no Christian context.
Well, on that, is there some sort of like connotative style Baptist, like do Mormons kind of shun Baptist? I mean, I know it's Baptist and Mormon. I know Mormons Baptists can sometimes look at Mormon as being or have this kind of false sense of who they are when they're really probably pretty nice people, and I think they probably have a false sense of who Southern Baptists are, because I think in the past we've been pretty hostile towards each other. Do you feel that there in Salt Lake?
There's two things that happen with the Mormon missionaries when they come back. They tell me two things. One, Baptists are the easiest converts to Mormonism because they don't know their Bible very well, and they look at the lifestyle of Mormonism and they say, well, that's really great, and they don't really see all the nuances that it's just unbiblical. And so the missionaries love finding the Baptists because they can convert the Bible Belt Southern Baptists like nobody's business. And then they come back and they also tell me that the ones that don't convert easily were the rudest, meanest people because they slam the door in the Mormons' face. And so I always tell people, you can help me out by, the missionaries come, keep them at your house as long as possible. Like, feed them, ask them a million questions, don't convert. You know, don't lies, don't buy any lies. But the longer they're at your house, and so then when they, so then here's the other benefit of this. Eventually their missions only will blacklist you. They'll tell those missionaries, don't go to that person's house anymore, it's a waste of your time. But if you're super nice and you're super gracious and you're having lots of conversations with 19-year-old boys, well, what's the problem? And so when they come back, it means tremendous opportunity to see them actually come into places of conversion. We had multiple former Mormons in life who went on missions because of seeds planted while they were on the mission that caused them to convert later when they came home.
That's very interesting. Wow, that's
be
really cool.
Kind, but they're selling lies. Don't buy it. Just really kind.
All right. Well, hey, look, we're out of time.
They need food, right? Just keep coming back.
That's right. Give them warm cookies and food.
Well, but no coffee.
Yeah, no coffee. Yeah, or Coke. Hey, listen. Thank you so much for joining us today, and maybe we can have you back again sometime. And we appreciate what you're doing. And if we're skiing in Salt Lake, we're going to stop by your church, and we're going to go to church in Salt Lake with you. We'd love to do that. So thank you for having us. Let's give Brian a round of applause. All right, Brian. Peace out.
And thank you for all you're doing. There's that bad shot. Thank you guys for all you're doing, Graham.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. God bless.
So that was cool. So one of the things is that strikes me about Brian is just, like I said, he's just so down to earth. He's so organic, and sharing his faith is so natural. And that's one thing that he's taught me. And that I think the 15-second conversation was really cool. We've been talking about that this week. And I was like, wow, that's such a good icebreaker because it's so hard to just walk up to somebody and be like, hey, I'm going to tell you about Jesus, or hey, let me awkwardly hand you this track, So how do we get into conversations about Jesus? And I think part of it is just like throwing something out there because that almost demands a response. When you open up and say, hey, there's a time in my life when I was running from God. There's a time in my life and I think I thought I could do everything, and then Jesus got a hold of me and he tracked me down. And now I have an awesome life because I worship him and I tell others about him. And I have a peace in my life. And people are drawn to that, and they say, hey, you know what? I have a similar story, but maybe I'm not a Christian. So then God can maybe be working on them, and you uncover that for them. So we're going to have we decided we're going to have a bus stop Sunday school, okay? We're going to all travel from here. We're going to meet here at the church. We're going to go to the bus stop, and everybody, I want y'all to all work on your 15-second stories, so I printed those off for you this week. November 12th. And November 12th, we're going to meet up, and we probably have some buses, or we may commute over there, caravan over there, but we're going to go to the bus stop, and we're going to fan out, and we're going to tell people our 15-second stories. There may be nobody getting off buses. There may be a bunch of people getting off buses, but we're going to be there. And if there's not, then there's hardly anybody there. We'll meet there. We'll have a time of prayer, and we'll pray over those people who are going to be coming through there throughout the course of the week, and talk about, in a different environment, what it's like to share our faith. So does anybody have any thoughts?
So we talked about going into this new segment where we'll be talking about outreach and missions. Next week we're going to continue to talk about it. Then November the 5th will be the following week. We'll meet in the chapel and have one more meeting together where we're talking about it. And then November 12th, we're out there. And we're going to, don't wear your suit. Don't wear your sport coat or whatever.
Don't dress nice.
We're going to meet at the bus stop.
Yeah.
And that's going to be our Sunday school classes, and we're going to outreach. And so get your story down. Be thinking about, what's my story? What am I going to say? How am I going to reach out? And then we're going to put it into practice. Put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to go out there and meet people where they are and love on them and share Christ.
Russell, pray out.
Well, we're grateful for this Sunday morning. We're thankful for a fresh perspective from Brian and Salt Lake for this